Welcome to It Pays to Think. In this show, we will attempt to deconstruct world class thinkers and show you how you can apply their strategies to enhance your life and your business. We will be chatting to thought leaders, influencers, entrepreneurs, and high achievers. You will be able to find your latest episodes on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram TV, Spotify, Apple Podcast, and Google Podcasts. Make sure to subscribe today and you will learn that it really pays to think. Good day, everyone. Today we are speaking to Zareef Minty. Zareef is the Chairman and CEO of Zareef Holdings. Hi, Zareef. How are you?
I will. Thanks so much for having me on the show today.
No, I'm glad that you are on the show. I mean, I said that you are the chairman of a holding company, but actually you're so much more. If I had to give your introduction of what you've achieved at a young age, it would take me 10 minutes, but I'm going to leave that to you to, to tell us about everything.
No,
Right?
I
So,
really appreciate it. I did start business from a young age. I practically started my first business at the age of 16. But I mean, just to touch on a bit of my bio, I've made the Forbes Africa 30 under 30 list about 2 years back. So I have a media company, and that media company made it on the Forbes Africa list. I've been on a leadership show called One Day Leader. We ended up winning the show. It's on SABC One. It has about 4.5 million viewers every single week. So I won season 4 of that show. I've also been, recognized by many different other, media platforms and many other like entrepreneurial platforms. So I was listed as one of the top 100 entrepreneurs to look out for in South Africa, with the likes of like your Patrice Motsepe, Puti Mahanyele, your Quentin van der Bergs, a good mixture of a lot of entrepreneurs. I mean, some of them are exceptional people. I mean, just being listed next to someone like a Quentin van der Berg, whose net worth is incredible, or someone like a Patrice Motsepe, who owns, Time Bank and is doing phenomenal things now with 5G. It's just incredible to actually be listed among them. But away from that, I'm a lawyer by profession. I've studied law at Wits University. I'm a radio host. I write for a lot of different media publications. But I think my main aim in life is just purely to be able to inspire people and, change people's lives. And that's what my passion in life is all about.
well, that's awesome. So just to go back a little bit, I mean, you studied law, but it seems to me like that's just giving you a background. Are you actually actively practicing, or is that just a credential you have at the moment, or are you actually practicing law as a lawyer?
So I have the ability to practice. So I'm done with my boards, and I've been admitted as an attorney in South Africa. But the thing is, I hardly practice, to be honest with you. Well, I'm someone who's very focused on innovation and disruption in markets and with business. I love business. Business is my first love, and I mean, what I use law for is practically, I believe in the whole triangle concept. So you have to be able to have business, have a bit of a legal backing, and then be able to market yourself very well. So if you have those 3 dimensions to you, you can practically take any product and develop it, That can be a person, it can be a product, it can be a service. So I use it in that sense. Law plays a very important role when it comes to just making decisions or anything to do with business. But at the same time, I do offer my services to friends and family. If anyone needs any assistance, a contract to be done, an NDA, if they want me to represent them in court for any small matters, I'm very keen on doing that. And it's just purely based on the fact that, it's family and friends, and you'll do anything for them.
Well, that's interesting. So your business, Jenny, you said you started your first business at 16. So what did you start?
So I started up a clothing company. So I was still in high school in the Northwest Province, from a very small town, very close to Stilfontein and, a few kilometers away from Potchefstroom. A place is called Klerksdorp. And Klerksdorp is, as you know, well, it's become a lot more developed now. They've built like a really nice mall there, and there's a lot of development. There's a lot of Chinese money that's now in the province. But previously, I mean, when I was still in high school, it's still a small town, and the mindset in small towns are very different to the mindsets in like a Johannesburg or even a Cape Town, for example. you're constantly thinking of the system. So the system means that you go to school, you get a job, you have a family, and you practically run the system generation to generation. And I didn't feel very familiar and very comfortable with that. So I used to travel quite a bit to Johannesburg every single weekend. On a Saturday, I would be in like Sandton, Melrose, Rosebank. And instead of going out and, meeting people and going for suppers and stuff, I just spent a lot of time finding mentors. So when I was 16, I used to look at all the people who I used to notice on media platforms and on TV. And I used to always just feel the need to be able to associate myself with them. So I started, I was just fortunate enough to be in similar spaces. So I would see them and I'd go up to them and, introduce myself and build a relationship with them. And one of the people that I built a relationship with was like the likes of Kenny Kunene. So I started up a clothing company because I saw a gap in the market where people were not really doing influencer work at that stage. The idea of using celebrities to be able to push through a product wasn't actually, a concept at that stage. I mean, now it's called influencer work. It's practically done by every single company and every single person on social media. But back then it wasn't a thing. And then I took my clothing and I said, look, I mean, if you're looking at my competitors in the market at that stage, it was people like Kip Kip and a few of your local brands in South Africa that were not really using celebrities. So I said, let me start using celebrities and we can grow this brand and I can actually end up competing with a lot of these companies. So I ended up, and I mean, it's a funny story. I ended up, waiting outside Kenny's home, gave him a few of my T-shirts, and then I didn't hear from him for a while. And then the next time I saw my T-shirt was on his show on ETV. So he was just doing his second season of his show. And he was actually wearing my T-shirts in the promo of his show. So he kept on playing all the time on ETV, people telling them, look, the next season of So What is coming out. But my T-shirts were being shown the most. I mean, I got so much of media publicity from it. Radio platforms started calling me and asking me about the brand and what's my plans for the future. But the best part about it was I started getting corporates calling me. So like Prime Media would call me up and say, look, we want to put you on our vendors list. We have an event coming up. Can you source us, this product? Can you be able to provide us T-shirts? Can you give us what we need? And a lot of other corporates followed. So I'm a 16-year-old now, traveling to Johannesburg during the week, missing a bit of school as well. But I'm, closing off transactions with corporates, which is really, really cool at that stage. So yeah, that's exactly how my first business started.
So I'm very interested in this because, I mean, I know Klerksdorp quite well. So this is a mining town, right? I mean, Klerksdorp is, and yes, you're right, it's a small town, but it's in between Stilfontein and Orkney, which is even smaller towns.
That's correct.
So really, yes. There's no real fashion industry in the Northwest Province, right? So or in that area. So where did this did this idea for clothing purely start commercial? Or did you actually have a love for fashion? Because you seem to be, I've seen a few photos and stuff, and you look fashion conscious, as if, you like to dress well and stuff like that. So did it come from a family? Where did this clothing idea come from?
So I think I've always, I think it's something that you pick up from a young age. I think I've always been aligned to things that are aesthetically appealing, things that look. I just always loved the whole crisp look to things. So if a person's clothing is crisp, it must never look baggy. It must always be well fitted. But away from that, I think I've always looked at like people that I look at as role models. So as much as and I really believe this, I speak about it a lot in my book, and I'll mention it a bit later, but it's just the whole concept that you have to find role models in every single aspect of your life. And I mean, at a young age, I also had role models in the sense of I looked up to people on TV and business people, but I also looked up to someone who could help me in the sense of I like how they dress and I really want to be able to associate myself to that kind of a look. So I mean, yeah, I'm coming from a small town. A lot of the times when I would, take effort into dressing myself for like a casual day at school, it was never like over the top, but it was always very well. I was always someone who believed the whole concept of being well dressed means that you're more confident as a person. It means that you're actually portraying what type of person you are, how much you value yourself, how much you believe in self-development. So I think I've always had that mindset at a young age, but I never had the concept of what it actually meant. So if someone had to tell me, why do you dress this type of way? I mean, now I can explain it and I can say this and that and that. But back then it was just, I enjoyed clothes. I enjoyed dressing well. I liked looking good. I liked all of those things. But now there's a bigger message to it. The bigger message is that um, the more confident you are and the better you dress, the more confident you are, the more confident you are, the more things you are able to do on a daily basis. And we don't even pick it up. It's subconscious. It means that it's the difference between you saying, look, I'll actually do it tomorrow because you're not feeling confident compared to actually getting something done now. So in a business perspective, it's also very helpful as well.
So do you take that philosophy into your extended environment as well? In other words, where you live and how you know everything that you surround yourself with, trying to have the same feel of confidence and also I suppose you know trying to surround you with things that make you feel good and that you like seeing.
I promise you, that's how I live my life. So,
Mm.
I mean, first things first, if you're talking about like an aesthetic appeal, I believe that even like my home needs to look like, especially like a bedroom, for example, it needs to look very much like a hotel. And the main reason behind that is not because of it looking like a hotel. It's just that clean spaces and open spaces allow you to be innovative. You know, a well looked after home means that you have the ability to be able to innovate, and that's what I strongly believe in. But away from that, I think I've always spent my entire life believing that concept, you know, of constant developing yourself, making sure everything's the best that you can possibly do, developing every single aspect of your life. So yeah, I've definitely lived my life that way. You know, even in my book, I speak about the fact of rewarding yourself. So every single time a deal would go through, for example, in business, or I would achieve something, I always link it to a certain item, you know, so it could be anything, something that you'd see on a daily basis. It might be a watch that I might purchase because you know, a deal went through, or I made the Forbes list and I might buy me a watch. And the reason for buying the watch isn't to boast or to be able to show people what you have or what you don't have, for example, but it's more based on the fact of seeing it every single day. When you see the watch on your hand every single day, it's a sign of success. It's a sign of you having the ability to achieve something. So it builds up the confidence within yourself, because if everything that's around you, you know, indicates moments of success, you automatically building that mindset in yourself to believe that anything is possible. And that's just the whole idea behind it.
It's interesting that you mentioned this, Zareef, because it's a very interesting concept and true. What you're saying is true. There's unfortunately there's been a movement where people try to take a shortcut, right? And it's almost like they buy the watch first and achieve later. It's almost that fake it until you make it type of thing. So, what do you? I mean, we'll talk about your book a bit later. But your philosophy of life is how do you? If you have to talk to somebody that's young, they see you successful, they see you dress well, they want to be like you, but they start off on the wrong foot by actually putting the watch on first or the fancy clothes on first and achieving the success later. How do you correct that in people? And what do you know, how do you
Yeah.
advise people on that?
Look, I think it's such a difficult time right now, right? Because even I'm not even sure if my own personal experiences or my own personal views on it is the right views, and I can just share how I feel about it. But um, I mean, I own
Sure.
a media company, and my media company, you know, we work with so many different celebrities and influencers and people that, I mean, as much as I love being authentic and I love being blunt about things, a lot of the things that you see on social media is not authentic.
Of course, yes.
Um, a lot of the followers that you see by celebrities are not authentic. A lot
Mm-hmm.
of it isn't real, you know, it isn't authentic at all. And it's a very thin line. I mean, in my own personal capacity, I'm someone who, I don't believe in that concept of faking it until you make it. You'll see on my Instagram profile, you'll never see me posting up. In fact, I'm the opposite. I prefer not to post up anything at all. You know, I stay away from being boastful or showing things. And I understand the whole model of Instagram is purely to show people beautiful things so that you get more likes and more followers. And that's the whole idea behind it. But I also think it's important that we use the platform for the right thing. So in my own personal capacity, I believe that my Instagram is there for me to show other young entrepreneurs of, you know, yes, I can show them some of the good moments, but I want to show them 90% of the time when things are not as rosy as people assume. So I want to show people that 3 o'clock in the morning, while you're still busy, you know, on a call, for example, with your business partner, when, you know, you still have so much of stuff to get done, or when a deal, for example, didn't go through that you've been working on for 2 months. I want to show people the real aspect of entrepreneurship, because as much as, it's nice seeing fast cars and big houses, people also need to understand that the main reason why we have peer pressure in South Africa and why we have so many young people committing suicide is that you're watching someone's fake reality and assuming that that's their constant life. And I think we want to move away from that. I want people to understand that, yes, you can be successful. I've had great moments in my life, but I've also had moments where I've heard 100 no's before I heard my first yes, And I want people to understand that that's normal. That's exactly what we're supposed to be seeing. But at the same time, I also want to sit down and say that I've seen people who in that whole concept of faking it until you make it, have actually become something from it. They've built up because of social media, it actually allows them the opportunity to be able to build a following. If you build a following, you can monetize it. Once you monetize it, you become of value, and then corporates start, getting into contact with you. Nevertheless, you can create an income source from practically nothing. So social media allows you that opportunity. So I've seen people do that as well. I mean, I wouldn't encourage it because I think it's a very difficult road, and it's also something that there's a lot of pressure involved. There's a lot of depression involved with that kind of a mindset. But I have seen people succeed in it. I would strongly encourage entrepreneurs and young people out there, be true to yourself. Make sure that you know what you stand for. You don't need flashy cars and big houses to achieve your dreams. You don't need to. I mean, you can just watch the people today that we all look up to. Mark Zuckerberg doesn't wear, expensive clothing and really, expensive things. You don't see Steve Jobs doing that. You haven't seen Jeff Bezos doing that. The most wealthiest people in the world don't need to do those things. Why? Because they understand the value of money. And they understand that you can become extremely successful. You don't need to show people that you're successful. You just need to be able to work as hard as you can. And I think that's the mindset. I think we should move passion away from, one day I want to make it and I want to be seen on social media as this incredible person, to more like one day I want to make it so I can actually change people's lives. I can feed thousands of people. We need to change the mindset of young people. And I think that's important.
I think it's extremely important that, young people like yourself that are successful and are seen as successful actually convey that message, right? When Bill Gates says it, or Warren Buffett says it, or like you say, Jeff Bezos, or even Steve Jobs said it, it comes from people that they look up to, but also it comes from people that they don't really connect to that much. But if somebody that's successful at a young age comes and says it like yourself, I don't think you must not underestimate that message. So I appreciate it. And I must say that I immediately knew that you're a hard worker, because just my little interaction with you, the speed by which you answered your emails and also the time in which you answered them showed me that you're not, that there's substance there immediately. So it comes through immediately if you do the right things.
Yeah, and I think it's also just it's a lesson for young people as well, and I really believe in this. I was speaking to my business partner about it about 2 days ago. So we run this really, really cool, new, innovative, disruptive business. It's called Roth Spices. And we really strongly believe that this could be the first business in South Africa that can become a unicorn business, mainly based on the scalability of it. So I was speaking to her about it, and she's a young, incredibly intelligent individual. So I was speaking to her about it, and I was telling her, when we have to actually increase the amount of people that we employ, our ethics and values is going to determine the growth of our business. So
absolutely,
if we don't show the people who work in our business that we love our business and we'll do anything for our business, and we'll sit up until 3 o'clock in the morning every single night because we believe in this business more than anyone else does, they will never have the same mindset as us, and I think it's so important that we build that in young people, because I think we must never underestimate the value of hard work. Yes, working smart is brilliant, but hard work is the thing that really is going to get you to the next level as a young person. So whether you're in high school, or whether you're at university, or whether you're starting up your first SMME, hard work is going to get you somewhere. As much as people can say they don't have a network, or they don't have mentors, or they don't have opportunities, if you work hard, everything opens up for you. You just become extremely lucky. That's exactly how it is. The more harder you work, the luckier you get. So I just want to encourage a lot of young people to go out and do that. I mean, this morning I practically had about an hour and a half of sleep, and I'm not saying that's a good thing. Health-wise, it's really not. But it's just the passion that you have for your business to see it grow. the fact that it's beyond just yourself. It's about the idea that, okay, cool, you're going to open up this beautiful business. It's going to run really, really well. It's going to become a very successful business, but you're going to be able to employ, a certain number of people. Those people are going to be able to provide for their families. Because of your business, you're going to be able to have a huge CSI budget that's going to be able to help people, in disadvantaged areas. So that's the idea. That's the model. That's what we've been taught from such a young age, by the mentors that I've had, is that you look at them, they're all billionaires. All my mentors are billionaires. I don't think I have any mentors currently that are not, and their mindset isn't stuck on how do I get let me buy the latest fast car. Their conversations are stuck on how do we change people's lives? How do we actually build a legacy for the next generation? And that's where their passion is. That's where they brag. They brag on that aspect. And I love it. And I want people to brag that way, because that means we're going to really, really change lives by doing that.
I do agree with you. So, tell me about Roth Spices. Tell our listeners what it's about a little bit, and why do you think it's scalable to $1 billion business?
Sure. So, and I think we were just so lucky with the pandemic. The pandemic is such a horrible thing, and it's gonna harm so many people's lives in South Africa and around the world. But there is some good that comes from every single bad, and
sure.
we were just fortunate. Yeah, we were just so fortunate to be one of those companies, because we created the model based on the fact that in 3 or 4 years' time, it's going to be very valuable. But we never thought that it's going to get, we're going to speed up the process so much because of the pandemic that it's going to become relevant now. So the whole idea is that we're looking at South Africa as a country, right? So we have a GDP and we have an economy. Our economy obviously is going to take a huge hit over the next few months and over the next year at least. We're looking at a massive percentage downturn. But away from that, what does it actually mean to the everyday South African? So, they're predicting anything between 2 to 6 million jobs being lost. If you're taking away 2 million people, hypothetically the smallest figure, you're taking away 2 million people from corporate South Africa, and you're saying that there's no employment available, there's two options for them. Option number one, go overseas and find employment. Or option number two is to become an entrepreneur. So we're going to have a lot more SMMEs in South Africa. That's a good thing as well, because SMMEs are the reason why the economy can grow. If we have more SMMEs, it means more job opportunities. They can grow a lot more faster than corporates can, employ a lot more people, in that aspect. So it's very, very beneficial for a country to have a lot of SMMEs. But most of our SMMEs in South Africa, about 85% of them fail within the first 2 years. So, and they fail for two reasons. One is that they just don't have the business knowledge on how to actually run an SMME or how to build a business and scale it up. And the second reason is that they have high expenditure. So because of the whole social media life, again, you have to have a really nice office, you have to have staff, you have to have this and that and that. They all take on all of that unnecessary pressure. And before they know it, they signed the lease for 2 years, for their office space, and now they can't even pay their rent in the second month. And that's the main reason why a lot of SMMEs fail. So we said, okay, cool. How do we solve this issue? How do we fix the problem for SMMEs? And the main reason is, like I said, high expenditure. So we created a model where we actually offer office-like space to entrepreneurs for about 249 Rand a month, where you get free coffee, free water, free Wi-Fi, free parking every single day. Opportunities to network, opportunities to be able to meet the biggest and most successful people in South Africa and around Africa as well. The most wealthiest people, have networking events with them. Everything available to you for 249 Rand a month. And the whole model is based around the fact of using existing space in South Africa and actually developing locations for them to be able to use those spaces. So we currently have about 38 locations in South Africa. We're looking at getting to about 100 locations within the next 2 to 3 months. And the whole model is, it's extremely scalable. So, the goal for us is eventually to have about 4,500 locations in South Africa, and then expand to the UAE as well as Nigeria and a few other countries as well. We believe that's going to really help a lot of entrepreneurs, purely based on the fact that, yes, we are solving the main issue of expenditure, but we're also then going to be providing them the support that they need, which is also another reason why SMMEs fail. So, the business is growing really nicely. We've spent quite a bit of income on development of like a mobile application, just to make it extremely convenient and friendly to your everyday entrepreneur. But yeah, it looks very promising. We're very excited for what Roth Spaces can do in the future.
Okay, that's awesome. So the other business, like you said, you have a media company, and the way you described it, it sounds like you almost have a media company that's focused on social media and influencer marketing and stuff like that. Or what else do you do there? What does your media company do?
So in fact, our media company was created purely based on traditional media. So we targeted a lot of like radio platforms, a lot of like newspapers, magazines, and we worked a lot with celebrities. So we've done a lot of like endorsement deals with celebrities and corporates, and that was practically how the model was created. The whole media company was based on that model of it being your one-stop shop for every single entrepreneur. I mean, so every single celebrity, every single high-profile celebrity would want
So
to actually
is
be
it the
a
agency model? So you become the agent for a celebrity or entrepreneur? Is that the model?
exactly that. It was based on the fact of like,
Okay.
so because each celebrity has their brand can actually expand, right? So if you really know how to monetize a brand, you can be able to make so much of money off it. Now imagine if you have 250 of the most influential South African brands under your media company. I mean, the growth potential of that is extremely high. You're not limited
Absolutely.
to
I mean, South Africans have a big advantage in that you have two sets of image rights. You've got your local image rights, and you know this as a lawyer, and you have your international image
exactly.
rights that can be
Yes,
sold, which makes it, us unique. So
exactly that.
yeah.
And then yeah, so I mean, just touching on that, that's definitely one of the benefits. I agree with you. The whole concept of having your different image rights, that's a huge benefit. But the nice thing about it is that in South Africa, the structure of it is still being built. There's still disruptors in the market that's trying to create and uniform it, but it's not really in place. So a lot of brands still get into contact with celebrities directly, but then there isn't like your one-stop shop. So what actually happens is that because all these celebrities are listed under our company, they get into contact with us, and immediately then it becomes a question of them sitting down and saying, look, these guys are actually managing these celebrities really well. How about we get them on to take on our brands for us as well? So we practically then started monopolizing the market to a certain degree, because we had access to all the different stakeholders. So you have access to the different agencies, you have access to the different celebrities directly, and the different companies or corporates directly. So it was very, very profitable, and it still is. It's just that we decided to change the model a little bit so that it's more sustainable, mainly based on the fact that as much as celebrities are a beautiful, beautiful platform and a beautiful group of people to work with, they're also very volatile as well. And brands, on the other hand, is not the case at all. So we've definitely moved more along the lines of doing a lot of corporate work, but we do manage a few celebrities at the moment.
What about sports people? Is there a gap in the market there, or is that market well served?
Sports, there's a huge gap in the market for sports celebrities, right? So I mean, if you're looking at the number of celebrities that have really built up a high profile brand for themselves, it's very few. A lot of them are more like mid-tier celebrities, mainly based on the fact that they haven't really spent time developing their brand. But the ones that have, if you look at them currently in South Africa and what contracts they have with corporates, you'll see that all of them are very well looked after, be it, and I can mention some of the names. You're looking at like your Discovery Bank, for example. They've done deals with them, and they've practically signed ambassador roles with them. So that's a huge contract. I mean, things like Jungle Oats, things like a lot of your nutritional brands as well. It's very focused on a few different people, because the amount of celebrities that are of a high standard in relation to like a large influence and a large followership is very limited. It's you can count them on your hand, actually, which is unfortunate. There's a huge gap in that market. So if there's any young sports stars or any soccer stars, anyone of that sort, if they really want to build their brand up, there's a huge opportunity for them to make another income source, which would be from influencer work and corporate work in that sense. Yes.
Well, that's interesting. So brand building, for yourself as well. I mean, if you're representing other people, and obviously as an entrepreneur, you're doing it for yourself. Apologies for the short interruption, but I really need to mention something. If you are someone who wants to get your message out, this is for you. We all realize that social media is growing in importance, and the fight for social media attention is fierce. To get your message out and to have your message resonate with your audience, you need to get it out in the most effective manner. And for this, you need the right partner. That is why I need to thank the team at BMDM Digital for doing a sterling job, not only in producing this podcast, but also in coordinating the social media awareness campaign around this podcast in a world class fashion. All I can say is if you want to get your message out to your audience, or even if you want to record your own podcast, then get hold of BMDM Digital today. The links will be in the description. Now, let's get on with the show. Something like these awards, like the 30 under 30 list, what did that actually do for your brand when you won that award?
So, okay, look, so firstly, making the Forbes Africa 30 under 30 list was a goal for mine. It was something that I wanted to do since I was, gosh, I think since I was 15 or 16. I always sat
Okay.
down and I used to watch TV. I used to watch movies and like all these things on TV about them speaking about Forbes and, oh, the Forbes list and how amazing is Forbes, and and you kind of have that prestige to it. And then a few years later, they decided to create Forbes Africa, in South Africa, and the guys from Dubai brought it here. And you hear about it, but then we're not really understanding what the whole model is and what they're going to do in South Africa. And then I got the opportunity to be on the list. And when I did find out I was on the list, I was ecstatic. I was very excited. I was just, it was a huge goal for me. It was a life goal to achieve at such a young age, which is beautiful, which is a really, really great opportunity. But I think there's a certain line to say that was amazing, but then what became better was what happens post you making the list. So you form part of a group. So they put us all on a WhatsApp group on, it's practically everyone who's made the list over the last few years. And we're all in one group together. And the amount of business that goes on in that group is incredible. The amount of money that's actually being passed over, the amount of turnover is incredible. Like people are doing deals from Tanzania to South Africa, Nigeria to South Africa, Mauritius to South Africa to South Africa. People are just building businesses together. People are finding opportunities to collaborate and become strategic partners. And that's I wish we actually had the opportunity to show exactly what we're doing on that group, to show it to South Africa and let them see it on a national TV platform, because we want people to understand that strategic partnerships and collaborations and young people working together is how we're going to build South Africa, and how people are really going to become wealthy, and how people are really going to change lives, and that's very, very important for us. So, I mean, in that sense, it was very helpful, but it was also helpful in the sense of like credibility. So I could walk into a corporate meeting now, and because, Forbes 30 under 30, it's not as difficult to pitch these ideas to the corporates, because there's a sense of credibility, there's a sense of support already behind it. They're like, if Forbes can recognize him, then we can recognize him. So it becomes very easy. It becomes a lot more easier to close off transactions. It becomes a lot more easier to do deals with people. Your standing in the business society is a lot better as well. So yeah, I think it's a beautiful, beautiful platform to get on. And I really encourage a lot of young people to go out and do the best that they can, so that they can also be recognized by the likes of a Forbes magazine or an Entrepreneur magazine, or even our own South African one, which is called Thriving Magazine, which is a beautiful business that was started by a young girl, a young Black girl in South Africa. And I'm all about supporting. It's good. We need competition for these big magazines. We need South African brands doing that. So yes, it's very, very good.
Totally agree with you. So the next level, obviously, and I mean, writing a book is a big thing, because it gives you, like you say, it gives you credibility immediately when you're an author. It gives you credibility as well, but also gets your message out there if you've got something to tell. And your book became a national bestseller. But it also seems that I read somewhere there were some struggles with the book. So tell us the story about your book and how that came to pass and how you managed to actually get it published. And.
Yeah, sure. I mean, and I think it's a beautiful lesson for a lot of young people as well. So I heard a lot of no's in my life, and in my book, writing the book and releasing the book was probably one of the worst times when it comes to getting a lot of no's. So I had my book ready and I wanted to release it, right? And I said, okay, cool. I'm going to go to one of these publishing houses and they're going to release my book, and I'm going to, do really well, and they're going to advertise me and everything. And I'm going to finally be next to like a Robert Kiyosaki, in exclusive books or CNA or whatever, and people are going to actually know my work, So I was very excited about it, and I thought, it's going to be so easy. Let me just contact all these publishing houses. I called 16 of them, 1-6, and out of the 16, I got 16 no's. Straight. People were just like, how do you know how to write a book? You know, what do you know about writing a book? You're 21 years old. What do you have? Do you have any idea how to write a book? What are you going to tell people? You know, and it was a
Sorry,
self-help
Zareef,
book. I mean,
can I just stop you there? Was this was before you won any of the other awards, right? You wrote a book first.
Yes, no, this
Yeah.
was before One Day Leader, before One Day
Okay.
Leader, before Entrepreneur Magazine, before everything. Like
Okay.
it was before everything. Yeah. So I released the book, and then I'm like, okay, cool. So I mean, I went to these publishers and I told them, look, I have this book. I'm a young entrepreneur. I have so many mentors, you know, and I sent out emails. I called people. I went to visit different publishing houses. I did whatever I could. I went to all 16 of them, right? I think I probably went to all like the 16 that were available to me. I went to all 16 of them, and all of them told me no. And like I said, they gave me their reasoning for whatever it might be. But some of the reasoning for me was flawed. It's one of the main reasons why we have problems in South Africa. That's the whole age issue, you know. People have to reach a certain age before they do something.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't believe that. I think it's a very silly mindset, and we need to change that in South Africa. And we can just watch how other countries are developing young people, and then we can learn how to do it in South Africa. Because there's a 5-year-old that's on YouTube right now that's making about $50 million a month reviewing toys. He's 5 years old. It's crazy, you know, and we're sitting there. He has the whole world opened up to him. Well, I mean, he can do anything he wants. He's practically a global brand already. But the reason why he became a global brand is not that someone put him on a chair and put all the cameras on him. He worked hard. The family understood the value of building up young people in their country. You know, they understand the value of what social media can do. We have this whole thing of you have to be a certain age before you do something, you know, and it's unfortunate. I mean, I don't want to speak about like even politics, but even in a political sense, we don't even know how to define youth. Like youth cannot be an age where someone's already at such an old age, you know? So that's the reason why we don't have young ministers in the country. And you know, when we did have our first young member of parliament, I was very happy about it. You know, it happened about 8 years ago, 9 years ago. And I was very, very ecstatic about it. But it was one person out of how many different people, out of 400 people sitting in a room of people, there was one person available to be a young person who's relatively young, you know. Now at least we have the people from like Fees Must Fall that are now sitting in parliament, which is beautiful, which is a brilliant thing, but it's still too little. We still need to change that mindset. We need young people to say, okay, cool. We need to see a young 7-year-old, you know, have a brilliant brand that's in practically all the different stores. People are buying their products. We need to see a 10-year-old on TV, you know, being a huge musician and artist and doing songs with Drake. We need to see a 12-year-old, you know, we need to see a 14 or 15-year-old person who can actually stand up and be a professional person at that age. We don't need age anymore to stop us from achieving things. We don't need all of that anymore in South Africa. And I think that needs to change. And I'm really trying my best to push out a lot of young people right now, you know, and I really want to get them out there, because the more that they're out there, the more it's seen as normal. And when it's seen as normal, we'll see a lot of young people having similar ambitions. So that makes me very excited as well. But I just want to touch back on the book, right? So, I mean, I'm sitting there, I have this issue with the publishers. They don't want to release my book. They're not interested. I got probably the fastest no in my entire life. You know, I sent out an email. It wasn't even an automatic reply. It was a response back from the publishers within like 15 or 20 minutes saying, sorry, we're not interested. You can try again in 2 years' time. That's what they actually said. We booked out for the next 2 years. We don't have space for any of our new authors. Please contact us in, I think it was like 2 years after the date that I actually emailed them. So I'm sitting there as a 21-year-old thinking, okay, cool. You know, and this is where the whole model of self-validation comes in. So everyone goes out and looks for validation from their friends, or if someone says you're not good enough, they believe you're not good enough. I think I sat back and I said, look, I really think I have something to offer here. And I spoke to myself, and then I was fortunate enough to have good mentors, right? But my mentors were not people who gave me things on a silver platter. They gave me the opportunity to find things. So I spoke to DJ Spoo at that stage, and he was telling me, Zareef, what are you doing, man? Like, you know, there's a thing called self-publishing. I'm self-publishing. Why are you wasting your time going to these publishers for? You know? And then I researched up on it. I mean, he didn't tell me how to do it. He just told me what it is. I went home, I researched up on it, and I found out, okay, cool, there's actually a way around it. There's actually a way that I can release my book get it into exclusive books in CNA without having a publisher, and I'll still make more money from it. So I went through the whole process of it. I released my book. I got it into exclusive books. I signed a deal. I was one of the first like authors that are not part of like a publishing house or distribution company to actually sign a deal with exclusive books. But that's because I was persistent about it. I didn't leave them alone. I didn't give them a chance to say no. I probably spoke to every single person in the head office just to be able to get my book in, you know. But nevertheless, my book released, and in the first month, you know, we got a deal with one of the state-owned companies, and they wanted like 5,000 copies of my book because it speaks to entrepreneurs, and it was good, you know. And we became a national bestseller in month one of releasing my book. And I just sat back, and I think I wasn't even boastful or arrogant about it. I think I just sat down and I wanted to sit, and I sat down and I said, you know, this is exactly the lesson that's going to be able to change a lot of people's lives, because people are talented out there. They have the ability to do things, but they don't have self-validation. If you don't stand up for what you believe you can do, a lot of people are going to tell you don't have that ability, you know? So for me, that was it. It was just like a lesson for me to be able to pass on to other young people. I think I want young people to understand that whether people tell you no, if you believe in yourself, go out and do it, you know, go out and do whatever you feel you have the ability to do. And 9 times out of 10, you'll actually get somewhere. So I think that was very, very important for me, you know. And yeah, it's something that I really enjoy speaking about, especially with the fact that today we're practically writing the third book. So the third book is actually in the process of being written. But yeah, it's exciting times now moving forward.
Amazing. So Zareef, this is a very important thing that you mentioned here, validation, you know, and I mean, these are where most young people's problems start, right? Validation from their friends, validation from environment, validation. How did you manage to develop that concept of self-awareness about self-validation from a young age?
I think I was just always unapologetic about who I was as a person. So, and I think I built up so people don't like it when people are like that from here, because we're part of a system. So even in high school, even in primary school, you will pick it up that people who conform are the ones who are loved the most. People who stand with the system are the ones who are going to be most appreciated and loved, because it's in a place of trust. It's not because they dislike the person or they hate the person or anything. It's just based on a system. It's how we wired as human beings. So if something feels safe and you trust it, you're going to appreciate it more. But if it's something that's different and now you're trying to be disruptive and innovative and unapologetic, people feel uncomfortable by that. And that people feeling uncomfortable is a good thing. You need to feel uncomfortable to grow. And that's exactly how it is. So I think from a young age, I mean, I was always that kid in high school that, you know, you knew you couldn't, it's not like in a bad way, but like you knew that you couldn't do something because it wasn't seen as acceptable, and you do it anyway, and you would be unapologetic about it, and you'd make it available and acceptable for people, you know? So I think that was just the whole thing of going against the status quo of what people believe that you should always do, but in a responsible and good way, not in a bad way. So I think that was exactly how I was brought up, you know, and I also had that mindset from a young age. So I didn't take it to heart when someone said, listen, Zareef, you don't have what it takes, or Zareef, you're silly, or you're stupid, or Zareef, you'll never amount to anything. For me, I took that as a positive thing. I sat down and I said, okay, that's great. Thank you so much for your opinion. But, you know, there's people out there that I need to inspire, or there's people out there that I need to prove wrong. And I used it as motivation for myself. So I think people need to find that self-validation also comes in from a space of believing that you're good enough, but also believing that you want to change mindsets, but you also want to change the position of yourself or how you're seen to people. So, I mean, if I had to sit down and agree with those publishers and say, look, I agree with you. Maybe I am too young. Maybe I need to wait until I'm 30, you know? I can get into you now. Well, at 30, that book would have never released. Empire wouldn't exist. You know, when I turned 30, it would never have happened. So I want people to understand that you must be unapologetic about what you believe in, and you must be unapologetic about what's your dreams and your ambitions, because if you don't stand by your dreams and goals, no one else will. No one will love your dreams and goals the way you do.
Well, that's 100% true. So I read somewhere that you set up to 500 goals a year. So where did you come on that figure, and how many of those 500 goals do you reach?
So I've been doing this since I was like 12 years old, right? Actually 13. I would go to like a local bookstore, be it CNA or whatever, and I'd go and buy 3 diaries. And I'd use them for different reasons. And I've been doing this since 13. I'm now 26. It's crazy. It's like 13 years. Um, and I kept some of my diaries though, because I think it's really cool to see what goals, you set for that year. But I do. So there's one diary in particular that's like my ultimate diary for the year. That kind of shows the 500 goals that I want to achieve. And then I also have a diary for business. So for example, business meetings and everything like that. It's like a normal everyday diary. And then I have my goal diary. So my goal diary is practically self-development. It's a self-development diary. What you do on a daily basis to get you closer to your weekly goal, and your weekly goal, what you do on a weekly basis to get you closer to your monthly goal, what you do on a monthly basis to get you closer to your yearly goal. And that's exactly what it is. And eventually get you to your ultimate goal. So I used to do that since I was 13. I mean, this year I also have about 514 different goals in my diary this year. I've achieved most of them, which is really, really good. I was just looking at it. I mean, my years are different to the normal year. So I work on a mid-year to mid-year basis. So my years are from June to June and not from December to December or Jan to Jan, for example. And I do that purely based on a psychological thing, right? So if you start your year in the middle of the year and end it in the middle of the year, you're not leaving that room for like a party mood or a holiday mood or a relaxation mood in December or Jan, because a lot of people waste those 2 months. So I feel very strongly about that, and I've achieved probably about 480 something of the 514 goals, which is really, really good. And I still have a few more months left. I mean, I still have a month and a half left until the end of June. So yeah, hopefully, I mean, if you can there's years where I don't achieve all of my goals. There's years where I've achieved 350 out of the 500 goals, or I achieved 400 or 450, but for me, that's exactly what the whole concept of self-development is. You'll never be perfect. You'll never, ever achieve every single goal. But if you try your best and you come close to it, you'll always become great. There'll always be an opportunity for you to develop and grow. And that's the whole mindset that I push through. So if I meet anything beyond 350 goals of the 500, I believe it's a successful year in my mind.
Awesome. So besides all these goals, you still have time for charity, right? So tell us a bit. I mean, I can hear the way you're saying it. You believe you've got something to give to the world, and it seems to me like you've got a giving nature in any case. So what are the charities you're involved with? Can you tell us a little bit about them?
So yeah, I've been involved with charities practically my whole life. I've worked with Reach for a Dream. I've worked with the Cyril Ramaphosa Foundation. I've worked with the Nelson Mandela Foundation. I've worked with UNICEF. I've worked with UNICEF SA. I've worked with, a lot of like even, I'm Muslim. So I've worked with some of the Islamic organizations. I mean, I'm currently working with one now. It's our beautiful month of Ramadan now, our fasting month. So during this month, it's all about giving in our religion. So, I'm doing this thing with them where we actually created like a team of influencers and celebrities from Durban, Cape Town, and Johannesburg. And we all like competing with each other to be able to raise more funds for the organization. So we do like fun challenges every single week. I mean, I cooked something for the first time in my entire life last week, but it was purely because of the challenge. Yeah. And I mean, I sang a song this week, which is really, really cool. I rapped the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, but I changed the words so it could obviously be appropriate for like a Muslim Islamic kind of a platform, which was really, really cool, So all of it just to raise funds, just to help people in the different countries. It's not just for South Africa, it's for other countries in the world. And I feel very strongly about that. Well, I think for me, it's what you leave in the world that's more important than what you have in this world. And I was fortunate enough to have mentors that taught me that from a young age. I was fortunate enough to understand the value of what life actually is all about. Like, you don't find happiness in having a Lamborghini and having a nice 25 million rand house or 40 million rand house at Waterfall Estate. You don't get happiness in that. You get happiness in changing lives. Like, that's where the real happiness comes from, So I started up a Build a School Foundation as well recently. And it's, I'm very blunt and honest about it. Unfortunately, over the last 5 or 6 months, I've been derailed a little bit. I've been so busy with business. I haven't taken enough time on the foundation, which I really have to. But, the goal still doesn't change. At the end of the day, we set a deadline for when we would run and actually build 3 schools. And if I put pressure on myself with less time, then so be it. I'm just going to make sure it happens, But we're really planning on building schools because first things first, you're looking at what's happening in the country right now. Schools are being burnt in KZN. Schools are being burnt all around the country by people. And it's unfortunate because it's actually very selfish in that sense. You're taking away the opportunity for other young people to learn, to develop themselves. But away from that, there's also a lot of overpopulation in schools. There's a lot of schools that are not, in rural areas that are not even appropriate for people to be able to study in. Some of them study under trees, and because there's just no availability of facilities. So I just want to be the solution to all of those problems. I just want my foundation to help people. And at the end of the day, it's not even about publicity or letting people know about it. I think at the end of the day, as long as we serve our goal in life and help people and build schools, we've done something. We've actually helped the next person. And my whole idea behind it isn't about myself. Like I said, it's about inspiring another person. So there's another young person out there who's now starting to develop himself that will say, oh, I also want to start building schools. And before we know it, we have a domino effect of young people that are now changing the lives of other young people. And then we can see where South Africa really is, and we can see how we really look as a South African country, when we actually have that mindset in all of us.
I agree with you. That's very good, very good. So, I mean, the other thing that's very important is your faith. Do you want to expand a little bit that the role your faith plays in your life and your business?
Yeah, look, like I said, I practice the religion of Islam. I'm a Muslim. And I'm honest. Like I said, I'm a very honest person. Sometimes I think I'm too honest, But the thing is, what's nice about being honest is that people can relate to you. I think there's times in my life where, I've never been someone who strayed away too far. I've never drank alcohol in my life. I've never smoked in my life. I've never taken drugs in my entire life. However, I have reached a point in my life where things were going so well, where you're achieving things, you're always on TV, you're building your brand up, that you're forgetting the most important aspect of life. And the most important aspect of life is to build a better relationship, in your faith. And that's the most important thing. So as you grow, you're supposed to grow your faith and not the other way around.
Mm.
And I think that was one of the lessons I learned in my life. And I'm so fortunate to have learned it at a young age, and I think that's definitely the thing I want to improve myself on. I wouldn't sit here and say I'm this incredible person who met, in our religion, we believe in praying 5 times a day. I wouldn't say I pray 5 times a day. I really don't. And I feel very bad about that. But it's something that it gives me the room for me to improve myself. So I really want to become a better Muslim. I want to become a better person of faith, because remember, our religion is all based on beautiful principles of giving, charity. That's one of our pillars in our religion. Things like, I know in the Christianity religion, it's tithing. It's called tithing, which is very similar to what we believe, and we call it zakat. But it's practically the same thing. Tithing means you take a percentage of your income. I think it's something like 10%, and it goes towards goodwill and helping people. We believe in the same model, and it's things like that I really want to work on myself. I mean, praying has the whole sense of meditation, has a sense of finding yourself. You're more disciplined, you sin less in life, you do the right things, you understand the value of life. So there's so much of benefit behind improving your faith, whether you're a person of Islam or of Christianity, of Judaism, every single religion brings value to it and brings a sense of morals and ethics and uplifts you to a certain degree. So, for me, in a personal capacity, I'm very interested in improving myself. I really want to become the best person I can become in a religious sense. But like I said, it's all a work in progress, right? That's what we all are as human beings. So I think it's important that we also are honest about that. And yes, I love my faith. I want to become, better. But at the moment, I really have room to be able to become better in that sense, to pray more, to do more in my religion. Yeah.
So, Zareef, you've mentioned mentors a few times. Do you have any mentors that you can highlight at the moment that's been important to you in the past? You've highlighted 1 or 2, but people that really stand out and people that you're looking up to right now that you using to maybe model yourself on from a business or a life.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's quite a few, right? So, I mean, some of the mentors that I have are like your billionaire mentors, which are doing really, really well in life. But some of them are not mentors that I actually interact with on a daily basis at all. In fact, some of them I don't even know. But they become mentors to me. Why? Because of the model of social media and because of the ability of us to be able to get information, right? So I do have mentors, like I said, that I speak to on a daily basis, that I chat to on a weekly basis. But then you get the mentors that I just need to go onto YouTube and they suddenly become a mentor of mine, you know? And that's the beautiful thing about social media. And I'm really happy about YouTube and all of this, because it allows everyday entrepreneurs to have the opportunity of mentorship without having mentorship. So yeah, I mean, I look up to a lot of different people. I mean, I look up to people like Patrice Motsepe in the country. I think I love his mindset, and I love the fact that he's willing to take on risks. You know, he's doing something now with 5G, which is incredible. I mean, he created Time Bank. The Time Bank is a beautiful, beautiful model for a bank, you know, based on completely different disruptive methods than what we're not used to with our normal banks. So I think it's beautiful. I think it's an incredible thing. People like Quentin van der Berg inspires me, you know, seeing his sense of generosity and seeing his humanitarian side, but at the same time, you practically monopolizing a huge market or mining market in South Africa. You know, people like that really, really inspire me, like locally. I mean, globally, I look up to someone as you know, you wouldn't assume, but I look up to someone like a Jay-Z, for example. I love his concept of diversification. The fact that he understands the model of never leaving everything or putting all your eggs into one basket. And as your one business is doing well, learn how to diversify so that you protect yourself from risk, you know? And he's done that in such a smart way, being a rapper, being a musician, but he understands the business model behind it. Someone like a Kanye West inspires me. Looking at how people wrote him off as crazy and insane, but in fact, he understood the bigger vision that he had in himself. You know, he knew that he's a disruptor and an innovator. So he goes out and creates this beautiful, massive deal with Adidas. People forget about him, but his model is so smart because it's based on exclusivity. So you only get a certain number of pairs of these sneakers available. So it becomes, the demand gets higher. So the value of the sneakers increase. So the more, you know, every time a sneaker gets released, it gets sold out within a few minutes. So the value of the brand increases. He then builds and builds and builds the brand. Today, he's a billionaire in dollars. You know, Forbes just recognized him. He has something like $3.3 billion in net worth. He's even more wealthier than Jay-Z and more wealthy than a lot of your CEOs in corporate US. You know, so it's incredible. It's incredible to see people like that. I love seeing people like that. Lastly, I mean, someone like a Steve Jobs. You know. A Mark Zuckerberg, people like that inspire me. I love watching their stories. I love seeing how they came up, and their whole mindset never changed from day one. They always believed in themselves, no matter if people didn't believe in them or whether they went through tough times or whether they needed to go and build something from scratch and make people understand a new model. They believed in themselves. They understood what value they bring to the world, and they were unapologetic about it. So I love taking characteristics from different mentors and, you know, positioning it in myself, because we can learn from all of these people.
So Zareef, this is, I mean, so what is the end game here? What is your vision for yourself? Where are you going? I mean, what is your long-term plan? Are you going to stay in business? Are you planning, you know, political future? Or, yeah, well, tell us. I'd love to hear.
So I've never said this to anyone before. And I do have the strong burning desire of one day trying my best to be able to, you know, I wouldn't say rectify the education system in South Africa, but definitely to innovate the education system. I would love to come in as a Minister of Basic Education in South Africa. I just think what we can do, looking at new technology, and especially with the changes in 4IR, and, you know, we can do such amazing work in South Africa, changing the syllabus, you know, really fixing maths and science in South Africa. I think we can do so much. I really do have ambitions to maybe one day come into a position like that. But for me, it's not the sole you know, plan for the future. I think for me, I really want to see my company and my co-founders' company become a unicorn company in South Africa. I want us to be recognized. I actually want us to be seen as a company that can change people's lives. And, you know, if you can become $1 billion company in South Africa, you have the ability to do massive things here. You can actually really, really change the status quo and make things better for everyone in South Africa. So I think that's very important for me. I think also another thing that I'd really like to do in the next few years is, you know, really spend a lot more time in the foundation, actually really build as many schools as we can. You know, I would definitely want to get married in the next few years, you know, start a family as well. But yeah, I mean, these are just some of the ambitions that I have and some of the goals that I have for the future. Um, and yeah, like just also spend a lot of time developing a lot of young people, you know, as much as I'm 26, there's a whole age group that's below me that can do incredible things that are way better than our generation. You must understand, every single generation improves drastically. What they can do and the abilities that they can do are just enormously higher than what we could do because of the technology
Well,
advancements and because of their mindset. So yeah, I mean, I really want to develop the next generation, and I think it's time. You know, at 26, I should start mentoring young people and starting to get them into a position where they understand the value of their brands moving forward.
I think this is one, I mean, it's very important what you just said there to me as well. I think people underestimate, because we have this incredible exponential curve in technology development. That means the historically, you're right, every generation has basically expanded our knowledge base and what we've achieved in the world exponentially. But now our technology is increasing at such a pace that our future generations are going to, the things they're going to do. I can't wait to see what we're going to invent next. So, you know,
That's true.
it's such an exciting time to live in. So,
No, it is. It really is.
so do you have a favorite quote or something that you want to share with our listeners as a parting gift?
Sure. Look, I actually have a few quotes that I live by, but I think the one that is important for me is just, you know, practically learn from yesterday, live for today, and dream of tomorrow. So it's just practically based on the fact that, and I can explain it in a short, you know, sentence. It's just that, you know, as you, like, everyone's going to make mistakes, and you are going to get no's, and people are going to let you down, and, you know, you are going to be sad on a day because the business isn't doing well, or, you know, you might have a certain family issue or a problem or a personal issue or something, because that's life, you know. But you shouldn't let that affect you. But at the same time, you should be present in today. Don't spend. I know so many people today that are so either stuck on what happened to them before, or they're so stuck on what they would like to be in the future, that they're not living for the moment. They're not living for what opportunities come in. You know, the present is beautiful. I don't know how many people nowadays, you know, actually look up. Like, I think we're so used to looking down at our phones or just looking in front of us. How many people actually look up nowadays? You know, look up and take a moment to just appreciate where you are at this moment, and what you're doing. But and then also, it's important not to forget, what's your plans for the future, where do you really want to see yourself, you know. But don't let it own you, but just let it direct you into the vision that you want to become. So you should definitely dream of tomorrow, and your dreams should become goals. It should be attainable. It should be things that you should write down. You know, people who write down their goals, 85% of people who write down their goals achieve their goals, because it's something that your mind has now conceptualized. It's something that they believe is feasible. It's something that's possible, you know. So it's just lessons like this that I think is very important for young people. But yeah, that's the quote that I would live by.
Zareef, it's been such a pleasure talking to you. If people want to get hold of you, where do they find you? How do they connect with you?
Sure. Well, so my social media handles are on Instagram. It's at I am Zareef Minty. On social media, on Twitter, it's at Zareef SMD. And then I have my website, www.zareefminty.com. But then you can also go onto our education platform, which is www.generationalwealtheducation.com. And the education platform is beautiful, right? It offers people the opportunity to do courses, but by celebrities and influencers. So you'll have like a Bonang, for example, teaching you how to have social skills, you know, and you'll have like a Intle Mbale teaching you on how to actually have holistic approaches to success and billionaire routines. And then I also offer mentorship on my education platforms. If anyone wants to actually, you know, have some, maybe a mentorship session, or get some guidance on a business, or maybe just the direction of where they want to see themselves in a professional setting, you know, I offer all of those services on the education platform as well.
Zareef, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for taking some of your busy time and talking to us. We appreciate it, and I'm sure our listeners will really appreciate what you've had to say. Yeah, and
No,
good luck with the rest of everything you're doing, and also with Ramadan. Yeah.
thank you so much. Well, no, I really appreciate it. Like I said, it's only a pleasure, and I'm very privileged to be on your platform. So I just want to thank you for that as well. And I wish you all the successes for the future. But yeah, we're looking forward to keeping this, you know, business relationship and conversations moving forward. So I'd love to engage with you further, you know, even off this interview as well.
Yeah, definitely. And I'll definitely interview you again. I mean, I want to follow the story, right?
Brilliant. I'm keen. Like I said, I'm always keen. So just let me know, especially when I see people that are doing stuff like what you're doing, trying to find nice stories and case studies to be able to, speak to young people, speak to different audiences. It's beautiful. We need a lot more of this. We need good content in South Africa. So I really do appreciate it. And like I said, I'm super keen to work with you in the future.
Thank you for listening to today's show. As you now realize, it really pays to think, and it also pays to learn from the insight and the experiences of others. Please be sure to subscribe and follow us on all the links in the description below. Fortunately, to think is not illegal yet, and it pays.